Hello, everybody, and welcome to the KubeVirt weekly meeting. I'm your host, Chris Caligari, and let's begin. I posted the KubeVirt weekly meeting agenda document into chat for those that don't have the link already saved. And of course, you need to be a member of the KubeVirt dev mailing list in order to edit it. Otherwise, it's read-only access. Okay, for starters, welcome everyone. And I added a new bullet point for new members to introduce themselves if they would like. So right now is a great opportunity for that. Okay, nobody new this week? Then we will move on. So I have the first agenda bullet point here. Just wanted to give everybody a friendly reminder about the GitHub pages settings on repos and KubeVirt. We had a website URI breakage last Thursday, and it took some time to figure out what happened. So if you notice that setting is turned off, please leave that setting turned off. Otherwise, it will interfere with the main website. That's it. And Ryan Hallisey has the next agenda bullet point.
Cool, thanks, Chris.
Welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, should be seeing my Firefox window with the meeting minutes. So this is a continuation of last week. We'll take a few minutes to continue the discussion. The little bullet point I added was, so I added more details to the design doc and for the bulk API discussion, and the design doc is linked in there. All right, so I'll switch over to it. So I'm not gonna go through all the details. I filled out a number of things. I attempted to mock just some of the APIs just to and then put some examples in just to kind of get an idea. But if folks want can read through that in their own time. And what I'll do is I'll send this out on the mailing list too, just so it gets far and wide and we can get some feedback that way. So mainly what I want to discuss is that I briefly touched on last time, kind of the implementation phases, I guess, if you will. So I have them listed here in the high level features and have 6 total. So 2 changes that I made since last time was I added this called unique VM metadata. So this wasn't here before. And so the idea here is that if I want to create 100 virtual machines, then I want to add unique metadata to each of them. And the idea is kind of along the lines with, I guess the example would be that if I had a secret that I wanted to get, a unique secret I wanted to be distributed to each of the virtual machines, and I kind of got the inspiration for when I looked at this from looking at CloudInit, and so I'll go to the docs for KubeVirt. I was looking at reading through the CloudInit section, and there's this section at the bottom called Future Metadata Server-Based Data Sources, and kind of that my understand kind of the problem here is that you have CloudInit and you have a lot of VMs, and you want to sort of dynamically populate the metadata of CloudInit for all these virtual machines. So you have a server that's going to return the information so that you can configure how these virtual machines run. So kind of like a similar problem space to what I'm getting at in that. So instead of having a server, I could essentially have, in this case, I could sort of upfront say I want unique secrets or something, and I can just reference them, and then those get populated to a large bulk number of virtual machines during creation. So similar problem that I'm kind of looking at tackling. So that's kind of the example, and that's the only one I reference in the section that I talked about it. But I'll go to that in a second. The second one is detach. So last time someone made a comment about detach, and I think it actually kind of makes sense to being its own phase, since I think it's sort of something that has a lot of components to it. So I separated it out, and each of these has their own section where I go into details on each of them. But I want to focus just on the unique via metadata portion, and kind of field questions, because I list this. Oh, and I should mention it. So I list this kind of in order and how at least for my use case, how I see them in terms of priority and what I care about. I think the first two being, I'd say, the most immediate, and then these being the next two probably in the medium term, and then these being sort of, for my use case, sort of in the longer term. So move down here. So before I maybe talk more about it, does any questions about generally what I'm describing when I talk about unique via metadata?
I get what you're wanting to do. I'm curious if, like, what's the tangible use case here? Is it really for Cloud init? Is that what you're wanting to use it for? Is it the user data portion of Cloud init? You need a unique user data for each VM? What is it?
Yeah. So it'd be providing like a token or something or whatever as part of the user data section of Cloud init.
And what's being passed into that user data? Like, I don't need specifics. Is more of it, is it something that's application specific that's being passed in, or is it something more generic like SSH keys or things like that need to be unique?
Application specific.
Okay, so it's specific to your use case. It's not something that's generic for all virtual machines. Meaning other people would have the exact same use case.
Yeah, it would be that if you had an application, it would be like if you had some sort of application that needed application specific data, you could use this mechanism to pass this unique metadata in as part of Cloud init.
So how would the unique, I'm trying to understand the workflow of how the unique metadata would be generated. How would you hook in to that to give each virtual machine as it's being created the unique bits? Something has to generate it, right?
Yeah. So this is where I want to go, at least with this, is that the assumption would be made that since there's a template virtual machine, will be a reference to a secret, and the way that I kind of do it is I have a label here. So in case any secret with a label will that has this label will satisfy as that will be passed on to these virtual machines. So I'm like exercising strict control over it. Could be the exact amount, like 100 secrets, or there could be just 10, and my thought, we just kind of like cycle through them, and I mean that'd be error. And so I think so maybe what I'm getting, the creation of any sort of the unique metadata would be an external step.
Would the creation of the secret be part of the virtual machine pool controller, or yeah?
No, it would exist.
Okay.
They would exist. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like secrets would have to be that would be the assumption. You have provided you're referencing a label. The tool would go out and take a look at the secrets that match this label, and it will just distribute whatever it finds to however VMs that you want.
So it's just taking like a round robin approach to the ones it finds, the secrets that it finds that matches label, it's assigning one of them out of this selection of secrets that match the label, or trying to understand how that,
Yeah. So it would be, well, I would think it would be like a round robin. I think we don't want to do random just because we want uniqueness. So we would just kind of loop through the list and just keep allocating them until we run out of secrets to allocate. Then we just keep going. If there's still more virtual machines, then need secrets, do the loop again.
That's interesting.
What do you think about the I guess the concept of sort of common, I call it here common overrides or something, like distribute data. Is this something that you could be a common pattern? I mean, you mentioned SSH keys. Sounds like that might also be an area where this can be used. It's not something I specifically have an example for, but.
Yeah, so we distribute SSH keys via secrets as well. But I'm not aware of a use case where you'd want like a pool that has each. Maybe there's a use case where a pool and you want a unique SSH key that's stored in a secret. I'm unsure. I was trying to more piece apart what the problem was that you're trying to solve, whether it's application specific, something that's unique to your use case, or if it's something that we can tackle more generically. And it does sound like it's totally application specific. Yeah, I've never even encountered this pattern before. It's really interesting. I'm not sure what to think of it yet. I'd have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
David,
I have to give this more thought.
I agree with you. The SSH host keys was instantly my first thought. Seeing this this API bit, and it's a huge problem in scaled out infrastructures. As easy as it sounds. Another thing that I was thinking of was the authorization keys for Ceph clients. That's another big problem.
So how would you maybe talk a little bit more about that? Like, how would you just, if you're launching a lot of virtual machines, how would you normally distribute the authorizations for Ceph clients?
I've only dealt with Ceph infrastructures around the dozen hosts or so, but I know there's companies out there that are scaled out way more. I could give examples, but I don't think I'm allowed to. But for SSH keys, it's every infrastructure that has more than a handful of virtual machines goes through this problem. I know one company in Durham that has 1,000 virtual machines, and those SSH keys are just stored on a simple web server, and they wget them. That's not a very secure method of handling keys. And they were looking at an HSA product to secure that, which has its own set of problems to deal with.
Okay, so I guess like at a high level, like what to kind of like try and capture, because maybe I can do it with like a little bit of a contrast. So with this I guess feature, I talk about different VM profiles. So like kind of overriding things like CPU, mem, disk, there being sort of uniqueness between virtual machines. Everything is going to sort of have its own override in some way. And the contrast, this is a way to have sort of something that will be added everywhere, sort of an override that's added everywhere. So it's essentially like a way of making it so that I don't have to say have like let's say I had 100 virtual machines, and in the different VM I wanted 10 with a certain SKU amount, 90 with another. This case would be, I would have to have 100 different overrides because each one's going to be unique. It's sort of a way to like pull all that together.
From a hierarchy perspective, I don't think that would be too bad of a thing to have. If you've ever dealt with Puppet, for instance, their what is their database called? I forget now since it's been a few years. They have a data source behind the web server of Puppet that handles all of these unique bits of data and then passes them out to clients. And it's just a key value file. And you end up with 100 entries for SSH keys. And it's really not bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, I get like part of like this as I can see this kind of feature quickly becoming like its own DSL almost, and I'm afraid of that. And like I don't want to like because to me, once they start asking users to, like, say I were to ask user to write all these unique things, now what's to stop someone to say like, oh, why can't you support this too, and this kind of override and like I don't know, I'm trying to like make like very clear barriers so that there isn't like sort of a language to define, like it's just like, okay, this is all or nothing. Here's what I want to do if I need to do anything specific changes underneath, so there isn't sort of any, like we're just sort of tweaking bits instead of having like too much YAML being thrown around, you know what I mean?
guess
I'm just thinking like, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm thinking about this a little further and I'm unsure. So what I would typically see is if you're wanting to distribute something unique to a virtual machine, what I've seen, a pattern I've seen in the past is that every virtual machine gets the exact same CloudInit, and they would reach out to a service on first boot to retrieve whatever unique token or whatever they need. So I'm nervous about I'm apprehensive about using the infrastructure, like the Kubernetes infrastructure, to support this when it might be something that needs a service specific to your application. I'm kind of torn between that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think,
Sorry.
yeah, and I can't, oh, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to say that, I mean, this is exactly what I wanted to mention here, because you are talking about application specific and anything generic, but we are managing in the project infrastructure of virtual machines. We are not trying to distribute things inside the VM. I mean, unless it's something very related to the infrastructure. So there are tools to do that, which you can use it, like what David just said. I think there is a separation between distribution of data towards the VM and managing it in the sense of an infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess part of it is because Kubernetes, because we can store things that are specific in secrets, and we can distribute them that way. That's how I looked at it as solving as something that we could do it using the infrastructure. But I mean, like I mentioned earlier, like the metadata server, like it's mentioned here, I think it's a similar problem space.
You can have the virtual machine even talk to the API. I mean, maybe that crosses a boundary. I'm just going to throw it out for your use case. You can have the virtual machine actually talk to the API server and retrieve a random secret.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
that makes me uncomfortable thinking about the fact that you cross the boundary of the application being able to talk to the infrastructure.
Well, it can be.
Let's forget that one.
It can be in a different IP or like an internal IP. For example, OpenStack has a metadata service for very, very long time, and it's problematic there as well.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot more to debate here. Would you guys mind if you took the debate over to the mailing list so we can move on with this meeting?
Yeah, I think this is a very specific topic. Ryan, would you mind making a mailing list post just about the unique metadata? And then I think I'm probably going to follow up with trying to understand whether this can be solved reasonably with an external service, or if this is something generic that belongs in KubeVirt. So since it's so unique, that's like the thing that signaled to me that maybe it doesn't belong in KubeVirt, but I'm trying to explore it a little bit further and make sure that I'm right.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we'll just use the mailing list. Okay.
Great. Well, thanks, Ryan.
Perfect. Yep, thank you.
That feature sounds really neat. I can't wait to see it get developed. So that is the only bullet point we have in the agenda. Do we have anything else for the agenda or the open floor? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, silence is golden. Do we have any pull requests that are worthy of discussion? No. Do we have any bugs that are worthy of discussion?
Many of them.
Oh gosh.
Let me share the screen.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes, we see it.
All right. So the first one is from a Watermelon browser. To have support for hot plug of network interfaces, CPU, and memory. I mean, it's a huge list of a huge feature, but I think we want to have support for all of these eventually, right?
Yeah, it's pretty. So what I've heard that there's talk of making pods mutable at some point in the future. Is that still okay? There's no discussion here. It's just a request. Okay. Yeah.
And he raises that he wants to join the KubeVirt development team, and then how can we implement the hot plug? So I mean, if we treat this as any other RFE, I guess the first step would be to split this, right? And propose a solution on the mailing list, and then get the discussion going.
It misses the scenario. So because the usage of a pod with a hot plug, it means that you need to know things in advance. So you need the scenario exactly. And if you can do mutable pod, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, providing the scenarios before we get to the implementation would make sense. Okay. So, could you please split this into a separate RFE for each type of device? Then provide specific use cases you want to separate. If you want, this is some want to start working on it, proposing design. I'm sorry for my slow typing. Unharming host. And I will use our new label. Needs information. Yeah, this issue is daring, but why not? Okay, moving forward. Resize OS volume that was uploaded using VirtCTL image upload. I went through this one. The person uploaded an image that had 80 gigs, and then they confirmed it has 80 gigabytes in the VM, then they turned the VM off. Tries to resize the PVC, but it wasn't reflected in the VM. Is this something we want to check under KubeVirt, or is this more of a CDI issue? I have no clue, to be honest.
How did they do this? Can you dynamically increase a PVC's?
So added the PVC, so it may have been just kubectl added.
Okay, I didn't know that was. Okay, that's interesting. So I wonder if all storage classes even support that. That's curious.
Wouldn't we need to increase the size of the file system also? It's kind of like increasing the logical volume, but not increasing the file system that's on top of the LV.
Right.
So we need a libguestfs type function there.
Yep. So it would be a workflow, something, it might even have to be, since it's a multiple step workflow, it's increasing both the PVC size and then expanding the image inside of it, which can take different forms. That seems like it belongs in CDI. It would be some sort of, you declare you want to expand this volume, and a CDI controller would then act on that. Again, I'm spitballing. I'm making that up as I go.
I don't think we have anybody from storage on the call, do we? So I will go forward and ask the person to open this on CDI, I guess. Interesting. The issue may be that while the PVC gets resized, the oh, I should have responded to this. ISO, is it ISO?
I would say virtual disk.
Thank you.
It's even the file system within the virtual disk. Yeah.
It belongs to CDI. This is so lazy. Good. Issue solved. Do we have a soothing label for this? I don't know. How do we treat this? I will add a label that needs information, just to wait for the person to respond, and then we can close it. Okay, third one. VM boot failure on Ubuntu. I created a quick fix. Okay, what happened here? We don't have Roman on the call. failed due to an critical network error.
Yeah, it's
Network. Yeah, Vladek.
I think this is about us requesting SE Linux every time to be present when we create the tab devices. There's a PR.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a
It's linked. I see. Yeah, the one with huge letters. Okay, so I guess it's accepted. Thanks. Thank you. All right. Then we have this one. The IPv6 tests fail to reach out to an external IP address. Eddie, do you want to comment on this one?
This is it's actually not an issue now. It was a problem that the bootstrap of the Pro images were updated and the Docker configuration was not in the right place, but that was fixed already. So this is not a problem at the moment. We are still, there was a PR that X failed it, and it's currently approved and it's going to get merged, but I'm not sure that we need it. Anyway, I didn't touch it for now.
What's that taking? So, I mean, so is there an action item on this one, or can we close it? I'm not sure I follow.
I think we can close it, yes, because due to the, unless someone wants to add something else that thinks that there is one thing that is still open there. That this kind of test that we are checking connectivity. Sorry, we are checking connectivity outside the test cluster is wrong. So we should do something to control it from outside, like inputting the reference IP or the domain from outside the test. But that's not. I don't think that's related to this specific issue now.
Okay, I will go for it and close it. Okay. How to set up the default mount path of empty disk? Let me fix this. Okay, there is. Oh my. Chris, how much do you know about storage? Are you an expert?
I'm not an expert. I think I might be able to comment on that. Let's see. It looks very basic. So he has the disk there. We see it as /dev/vdb. So it's there. He just needs a file system on it. So he's not going to be able to mount that disk until there's a file system.
So does this command sound like a reasonable solution?
Yes, Cloud Init is a good place to put that.
Okay, thanks, Alex. All gibberish to me. Could you please confirm that the command solved the issue? And yeah, and then we can close it within a week. Right. duplicated log files generated in the temp directory. Does it look like something that's inside the Virt launcher or handler? Or API? Do we have a logging that saves logs on the disk in any of the components? Or are we just flushing all to std out? Anybody knows?
My assumption was we were flushing it the standard out. Apparently we're not, if this exists. Is this within the pod? Or is this on the host?
I mean, it's a non-root user. Do we have anything that sounds like it in the pod? I don't know.
This looks strange.
That's Virt launcher, or sorry, the container itself was Virt launcher. I don't know.
But it's Virt APIs, logs. I guess I can look real quick. I'm kind of curious.
You're such a louse typer, David.
I know. I'd mute, but then I'd have to switch tabs.
I feel sorry for the keyboard.
It seems like everybody has their own tone of key clicks. I've heard at least 4 now already in the meeting.
And I mean, these are kind of huge. How can we fit 4 gigabytes of blocks into the blood?
It feels like there's some verbosity setting that was increased.
Yeah, but even the error, it's, but he claims it's duplicated and it looks like it because all the 3 levels have the same size.
I can't even exe C into our Virt launcher pod. I mean, our Virt API pod anymore. We don't have bash, and this is very surprising.
Okay, let's wait for him to answer. But I mean, if we have duplicates, I will use our new accepted label, I guess. Okay, let's see if they help us with this one. We have a couple of minutes left to this one. When PVC related to volume is from a clone, VM snapshot will create failed. Anybody familiar with the, it's, what? So they use the snapshot feature and created PVC had null as a value.
Also notice he's using a storage class rook and Seth.
Mhm. I wonder how comes we haven't catch this one, but this looks like something we want to fix, and I went ahead and debugged it as well. But the diff they share is from Kubernetes, not from KubeVirt. Do you know who was the one implementing the snapshot feature? Can we use them here? Was it Michael? Anybody knows?
Yeah, Michael
Okay.
worked on the snapshot feature.
Ah, awesome. Thanks, Ryan. And I will ping him offline as well. I don't know which label to use. I will fall back to need info, and I think that we have over 20 minutes behind us now. So thanks all for going through this, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Welcome.
And that concludes the bug scrub. And if there is nothing else, then we can conclude this meeting. Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm stopping recording now.